What do I got there? Food. Embarrassing. Awkward. Hey, everybody. Jump on here. We've got a special bonus coffee with Scott Adams without coffee this time. Volume sounds better because I'm using my phone this time. Hello, Vegas. Why is it that the people from Vegas always say, hey, you're from Vegas? You know, my store doesn't carry Zola enough. It's always out. All right, so let's talk about how to pay for health care in ways that haven't been discussed, but are worth discussing. Let's say that we decided to fund health care from 3 sources, and I'm just brainstorming here, so don't consider this a proposal. Consider it just brainstorming with all of you smart people. Suppose you use 3 sources to pay for health care on top of whatever we're paying already. One source would be charging countries that don't have big militaries that we protect. So in other words, we would just pay other countries, or in other words, other countries like, let's say, Mexico, just to pick one example. No, that's a bad example. So South Korea, etc., countries that are under our protection umbrella, we just pay them, have them pay protection money. Yeah, and just say, if you want us to come to your rescue, pay us an annual fee. We'll use that for health care. I'm not saying it's a good idea, just throwing some ideas out here. Next one is canceling the war on marijuana, and then using the funds that would have gone for the drug war, at least for the marijuana portion, toward healthcare. Because you get 2 bangs for the buck there. The marijuana itself replaces half of the drugs they use for pharmaceuticals. Let me give you an idea. For a typical patient, and this might be somebody I know, this might be just random, but a typical patient who uses marijuana would not need a CPAP necessarily for sleep apnea, wouldn't necessarily need high blood pressure medicine, wouldn't necessarily need a sleeping aid like Ambien or sleeping pills, wouldn't necessarily need allergy meds, or at least as much of them, and it might cure their asthma as well. Plus there's a full body anti-inflammation effect. So you could find that making marijuana legal and taking the money that you spent on policing it and just move all that money over to healthcare. Now, the reason that I'm talking about these particular sources is that there's an argument for why that specific money makes sense to go to healthcare. The reason that charging countries to protect them makes sense is because the reason that some countries can afford universal health care is because they don't have a big military. And the reason they don't have a big military is because we do. And they know that that's enough. So let's just charge them and use that money to build a health care that's as good as the one in the countries that we're protecting. I have no idea if that's a good idea, by the way. I'm just throwing some stuff out there. And then the next one would be illegal immigrants or undocumented immigrants. Let's say you put a special tax on them because maybe they tax the immigration in general taxes the healthcare system in a special way. So you find a way to tax immigration or undocumented immigrants. Small amount. It doesn't have to be some burdensome tax. But if you start collecting together these various taxes, and of course I also talked about taxing the big tech companies who are making us all sick by addicting us to their devices. I think that's a legitimate medical problem now. And we tax alcohol, we tax cigarettes, we're going to tax marijuana as well. So whenever you tax these sins, such as apps on your device that hack into your brain and make you addicted, it's not unusual to tax the company that is addicting you to pay for the medical treatment of that. Now, but the thing that caused me to jump on here is that I saw a article in The Hill that says Trump's Department of Justice gears up for a crackdown on marijuana. Now, there's speculation in here rather than reporting, but there's some kind of a memo coming from the Department of Justice recommending how to handle marijuana. So here's my Jeff Sessions prediction. If it comes out that he says, hey, we've decided to leave the states alone where it's legal, and we're going to leave the dispensaries alone, but there may be some places on the margins where, let's say, we're collecting illegal immigrants to send them home or something. Perhaps in those cases we would go after big marijuana dealers or something. So there might be some little carve out that makes sense. But if Jeff Sessions decides to move against legal marijuana in states, that will be the end of Jeff Sessions. So he won't last long after that, because he's going to lose some very big supporters who are influential enough to make a lot of trouble, and I would be at the top of that list. So I would turn on the Trump administration. People have asked me, what would it take for you to, turn on Trump and say he's not doing a good job or he's messed up? And this would be at the top of my list. If Jeff Sessions starts coming after states for doing what the states want to do, then I would say that would be a reason to stop support for the administration. But I would also argue that it probably won't happen. So I think this report is probably a little bit too much worrying and not enough fact, a little bit too much speculation. My guess is that whatever comes out of it will look a little like tough talk, but won't have any teeth and won't really have anything to do with marijuana in states. That's my guess. But if he does, if he surprises me, then that's pretty much the end of the game. Yeah, there definitely would not be a second Trump administration if that happened. I don't even think there would be a slight chance. That would take the chance of re-election down to zero, I think. But on the other hand, if the Trump administration were to go the other direction and just say, let's stop wasting our time on marijuana and let the states work it out, I have spoken. If that's what comes out of it, then that's going to be just a huge win for the Trump administration, because it's one of the very few topics where people on both sides agree. There are tons of Republicans who say, yeah, let's let people live their lives. They looked at the science, they know the risks, which are pretty small. Let them do what their doctor says to do, or at least let them enjoy it. Trump likes winning. Winning is good. Thoughts on Sleazy Schiff? Well, I think the president is A/B testing that nickname. I'm not sure that will be a keeper, but Sleazy is sort of a wonderful, not often used name in politics, which he likes to do with his nicknames. Use stuff that you don't see a lot. But Sleazy, it does seem to fit his demeanor and his appearance. It's easy when you think of Schiff. How easy would it be to think of the bad guy in a movie? Right? Or let me put it this way: if you had a movie that had a good guy and a bad guy, and you were casting for both roles, and Schiff came in, and you didn't know yet which one he was going to interview for, you wouldn't even probably interview him for the hero role. You'd say, well, we got a character here who's a criminal. He's really sleazy. You look like you'd be just perfect. And again, I'm not saying anything about, Schiff's actual personality, because I wouldn't know, but just the persona that he projects. It's funny that the president has once again found a nickname that as soon as you hear it, you say, well, that sounds kind of fitting. Yeah, this stuff is not accidental. Shift So I heard that Nevada has a marijuana problem. You can't get enough. They had long lines at their dispensaries. Apparently it's like an actual problem. People who need it medically just can't get it. It's in such demand. I don't expect... Oh, the lines are crazy there in Vegas? Yeah. But I expect they'll solve that pretty soon. A 45-minute wait, wow. They declared a state of emergency so they can import. That sounds more like an idea than a thing that actually happened. All right. Yeah, come to Northern California. It's not a problem. That's all I wanted to say today was a few more ideas. And I will talk to you all later. Don't win small when you can win big.